Can I go Amanda and then Sarah? So Amanda.
Yes, hello. I'm Amanda Wilson from Bidwells. So I'm sitting in on the call because I look after a good number of properties in the city centre, as do my colleagues on behalf of clients. We have previously been issued with a police guide with different phone numbers to call, email addresses to make contact with, and I'm just wondering if that's still a current and up-to-date document. It's really useful tool for us, where especially when we have new tenants taking on properties, we make it as part of their welcome pack, so that they're informed about how to go about things. One of the priorities is to ensure that they're reporting any sort of issues, really, and it's not about getting people in trouble, but it's about highlighting, because they don't know who that individual is, and that individual might be new to the street, and then nobody knows that individual is even existing. So it'd be really helpful to have a robust guide of who to contact in what situation. Like I say, we do have a document. It's called Police ASB version 2, but just to make sure that we do actually have all the current up-to-date information of when we can then educate people of the right thing, so they're not wasting the time of the wrong association or party or group.
Fine, thanks for that, Amanda. Yeah, the original version of Sharing Spaces, we did include that document, but then we were aware, like you were, that we didn't actually have control of that information. So we didn't want to put it in and then not be able to update it. So yeah, I believe that's produced by Cambridgeshire Police. I mean, we can certainly find out if you have the most current version. We can certainly sort of find that out for you.
Yeah, I have dropped one of the city centre contacts at the police a note about it, but I hadn't heard anything back, and I didn't know whether somebody else might just get more of a readily available response, really. It's just all the little things. So like a colleague, for example, has just turned up to do a vacant property inspection, and somebody has tied all their belongings around the front door. So she's new to the role, and she's like, oh my God, what should I do? And I said, well, report it. You can't dispose of the items. They should be tagged to highlight the issue. I said, but you have the right to take them off the front door because you need to gain access to the premises. That's your responsibility, but you can't dispose of the items. And it's all of that sort of thing, because there are so many individuals and parties and rules and procedures and all that. It can be a bit overwhelming.
Thanks for that, Amanda. Sarah, you've had your hand up for a while. I mean, are you able to address that issue as well for Amanda?
Yeah, I think the police guide is probably still up to date. If it's got our number in there, that's still the same number. The police won't, just to say, the police won't generally come out to a rough sleeper. So if you're concerned about sort of rough sleepers outside your premises, you're probably better off either reporting it to the street outreach team, StreetLink, or contacting us, because then we can contact the relevant services and look at getting those individuals identified. And also that area then becomes on our radar, and we can start discussing what we need to be doing about that particular area. I think it was Jenny or Hannah was saying earlier about identifications, and I would just say as well that from a business point of view, I wouldn't, when reporting, if they're reporting sort of issues with rough sleepers, not to worry too much about knowing who they are, because we can usually find out fairly quickly. So it may be things like they've got a dog, if they can describe the dog, or whether it's a couple, things like that, then we can usually fairly quickly work out who they are and then start doing some sort of proactive work around that. Obviously, it's helpful if they do know individuals, if they've got a particularly problematic beggar, for example, and they know who that is. That's useful, but you know, I would always encourage people just to report it, get it reported, and then we can start doing something about it. And individuals as well, when we get reports, we don't identify where those reports have come from. So if members of staff are concerned about reporting because they think there's going to be, you know, retaliation from the individual, we wouldn't say who's reported it, and we keep it very general anyway. So just get it reported. Yeah. And if you can't get through the police, you can always report to us.
Yeah. Does that answer your question, Amanda?
Yes, it's very good. The only thing in the document, it doesn't have any details for StreetLink, and I didn't get a screen grab when it was presented at the start of the presentation.
No
So
problem. I can, yeah, I'll provide all that information for you, Amanda. Yeah, for
that's
StreetLink.
lovely. Thank you very much.
I'll include that in the pack that I'll send out afterwards.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. If there, and nobody got the hand up, Chris Dade, you're on the call. James kindly mentioned our Crossways project. Did you just want to give us a sort of brief so that people on the call can get an idea of, you know, what happens and the move on sort of successes we're having at Crossways? You there, Chris? You might be on mute, my friend.
I think he's frozen.
Oh, is he frozen?
Looks like.
It might be the, yeah, it might be
Crossways. Crossways.
Chris, could you possibly, Chris Jenkins, could you just give us a sort of update on that?
Yeah, just to introduce, I'm the chair of It Takes a City, and through the pandemic, working with James and his colleagues, we established the support to everyone in from April 2020, and that culminated in working with the City Council to rent an 80 ensuite bedroom property across the previous winter, finishing in June last year, to bring people in, to help them to be COVID safe and to find opportunities to move on into the next stages of their housing journey. And about half of the 300 or so people that came off the street at that time, we were able to assist into some kind of positive move on their housing journey. And we were very fortunate in being able to find a property known as Crossways, with 20 ensuite bedrooms, former, well, current but vacant student accommodation. Again, working with James and his colleagues, that's been rented from November to March this winter. We've been bringing people off the street. Chris and his colleagues, our team at Crossways, welcoming people in and keeping them safe. We're working with a number of other agencies, particularly the Cambridge Street Pastors and the Cambridge Churches Homeless Project and St Andrew Street Baptist Church, and a cloud of volunteers from there, as well as to provide the meals and cleaning and laundry, etc. for people. And then we're helping people find move-on opportunities. I think we've had 60 people in, 55 individuals, 60 people total, and about 25 people have been helped to move on in a positive way since the beginning of November. And we're looking forward to offering a very similar service this coming winter from November through to March, subject, of course, to finding appropriate premises. It's possible we can use Crossways again. We've got negotiations underway with the ultimate owner and the intermediate landlord at the current time. And then through the year, the work that Chris and his team do in conjunction with others in the city is to support people that are moving through a housing journey, particularly in the private rented sector, where people need assistance to find accommodation and support to help them not just to sustain their tenancy, but also to flourish in it. And a number of other ITAC initiatives are providing some of those support activities alongside the other agencies in the city to bring the community around people that have, are on their housing journey. And James also mentioned the modular homes, and an offshoot of It Takes a City, Community Land Trust is negotiating with University of Cambridge for the first plot of land on which we can put 10 modular homes later this year. And we're talking to landowners, in particular the City Council and Ely Diocese and the County Council, about other possible sites where similar schemes could be put up for small off-site built modular homes that are very modern, eco and easy to use, that give an opportunity for people to have their own space for their housing journey and not a shared space in a hostel which doesn't suit everybody, or a shared house which doesn't suit everybody. But many people aspire to have their own home, and it's an opportunity for people to have their own home, at least for a time period, and then we work with them to find a move-on accommodation if that seems to be appropriate. But it gives, and I'll pinch a phrase from James here, it gives someone a modern, high-tech, defensible space of their own, which many do appreciate, and we get some positive results from that. So So a little update on some other things that we're doing to round out the set of opportunities that James mentioned earlier.
Lovely. Thanks so much for that, Chris. Are there any other questions or any other comments that anybody wants to make before we sort of start to wrap things up? I'm just having a look to see if there's any hands up. No, please feel free. No, fine. So, okay, thank you so much for attending. What we hope to do is to be the first of a series, possibly every other month. We're planning, in the middle of planning one at the moment, just to deal with Street Support Cambridgeshire, so we can have a look at that in a bit more depth, and we can take people, drill down into the website, answer any questions you might have, and have Gary Dunstan, who was one of the founders of the network, to come and join us. I'm just inviting Chris back in. Looks like Chris was, yeah. Obviously, if there are any other subjects you would like us to cover, as I say, It Takes a City, our plan is not to try and duplicate or replicate anything else that's going on around the city. It's really just to facilitate discussion in this instance. And in this case, it's around how we can support not just businesses, but anybody that has a presence in the city and wants to work in partnership. Hopefully you've got a good idea now of just the sheer amount of work that does go on to support people that are currently, rough sleeping, but also to start that journey away from the streets. I think we'll pick up on what James McWilliams said, is that perhaps we're not always, as a sector, for want of a better word, we're not always great at informing people and letting them know. We're also keen, as I say, on working with businesses on homelessness prevention, as I used that figure that was provided by Shelter at the beginning of the call, which was essentially 1 in 5 employees is likely to be either homeless or at risk of homelessness, or like myself, sofa surfing and precariously housed. And that's likely, in the current economic climate, that's likely to increase. So we really would perhaps, get together a team of people ourselves, Winter Comfort, whoever it is, to provide some materials and support for you on that, on how you even broach the subject. How you see the signs of an employee that might not be coping too well, how you broach that subject, and once you broach the subject with them, how you support them, hopefully to prevent them becoming part of the rough sleeping and the issue that we have in the city and all over the country. So I'm just going to check round to make sure there's no final comments. No, it looks like everybody's happy. Well, that said, wish you health and happiness for the rest of the day, and hope that we can see you on the next call. What I will do is I'll edit this recording, and then I'll make it available along with a couple of other things that people have asked for. So give you more information about StreetLink and the 3 Streets campaign that we're running. And obviously, if there's anything anybody on the call wants me to share in that follow-up email, then please send it over to me. My details were coordinator@ittakesacity.org.uk. Okay, so that said, thank you very much, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.